Okay.
Hi everyone, this is Jessica Schaub, and I am here with my good friend Taser Wraye. And he has some incredible things to share with you today. I'm really excited. Okay, so Taser, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and
Boy. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm a quantum naturopath, uh, research scientist, inventor, and I come up with a lot of really amazing things. I guess we can talk about some of those a little later.
We will delve into that, don't worry.
But it's been about 20 odd years of learning how to do things and look at the world a lot differently, really having an open mind about what is reality and how reality can shift and change. And that's what I've learned how to do over the number of years. And working with people. I mean, this is simple stuff. Might seem, well, I say it's simple, but when people come in and they have a joint or something that's there's something problem with it, or there's a broken tendon or a ripped tendon, I can actually repair that within minutes. Yeah, I just said that, in minutes. Doesn't take months, minutes. So anyway, just something to think about. And what let's ask you some questions, you know. I don't know how far gone. I mean, okay, some people ask me, what have you done in your life? Well, initially I was a wildlife research technician, and I was chasing caribou and grizzly bears around for a while. And that was a pretty interesting, you know, a lot of stories there. Then I got into water quality technology, and I started learning about how things work and communicate at the micro level. And that was really eye-opening. And then even further from that, well, actually even carry on, I got into quantum naturopathy. I learned about really that level, how things not only communicate, but how they come into reality. And with that knowledge, I've been able to come up with some pretty amazing stuff.
And how did it all start for you? What got you into all of this? What's your a little bit about your journey?
God, yeah. Well, originally when I was 21, so I actually wanted to communicate with dolphins. Didn't do that, but that was kind of like the start of my journey. Wanted to do things that were kind of like really different.
Where did that come from, this wanting to communicate with dolphins?
Uh, it's recognizing that the cetaceans, whales, and dolphins have a higher intelligence than we do. And the way they communicate, the way that they socialize and everything else, I always thought it'd be really interesting to be able to communicate with them and learn from them. But, you know, a lot of people think animals are just animals and think we're the top of the heap. And really, well, look at what we do. Look at the crap that we do. I mean, do you really think we're the top of the heap?
Dolphins are super intelligent. They use 100% of their brain.
Yeah, I thought I could learn. We could learn
So
things from them. So that was the start of things. But I got into other projects, and I got into work with wildlife, and I got into, you know, I mean, it just was a journey, and everything evolves as I was carrying on with learning new things, you know. And I think one of the things that was really well, here's something funny. Okay, I mean, I was brought up as a Christian. I certainly never followed that much, but one of the things I always I learned one thing from the Bible was that when supposedly Jesus said, "You will do things greater than I," which means, hey, bro, you can do things just like I do.
the things I do, ye shall do greater.
Yeah. So I thought, well, that's interesting. So that was kind of like a rock to stand on, a baseline to think, well, what else can I do? What can I do then? And that kind of gave me the ideas of whatever, you know, like there's all kinds of things, all possibilities. One of the things that I say a lot every day is, what else is possible? You know, once you've achieved some things, then you start to look at, well, if I did that, what else could I do? You know, and it opens up your mind to a lot of possibilities. So you start to lose limitations that have been given to us since we've been birthed, you know, and all the lies we've been told about what we can't do. So I've learned what we can do.
And how did you get into exploring more your quantum potential and healing? Is there
Uh,
activation or something like that
well, a funny story in a way. It's kind of like I got in when I decided to leave the government years back. I got into using a skill device and learned about how to use it and things, and and it was pretty eye-opening. And I don't use it anymore. I've kind of gone beyond it, but well, I actually have gone beyond it. But the initially what I did was went over to Dubai because I worked out this whole deal about working with camels over there, racing camels.
That's random. What do you mean? We're working with camels in
Yeah.
what way? Sorry.
Well, I didn't know who would do that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. What? Where'd that come from?
But the other thing was I had absolutely no history working with camels. And yet I went over there and
Really?
I was the Canadian expert on camels. How did I do that?
Yeah, how did that happen?
Well,
Is that a story?
that's a long
Okay,
story.
all right.
But it opened up my mind about what's possible because I had in my mind what I wanted to do, and I went over there, and all those things manifested when I went over there. So that's kind of like, you start to learn to manifest things, and you start to learn about, well, even working with the camels, like being able to see. I guess one of the things what I was starting to learn about what I could see inside the animals, what's actually wrong with them. And that's where I got way beyond the machines and stuff that we have. This is I call it the human soul vessel. I don't use the word body anymore because it's so generic, but this is a human soul vessel, and it has a lot of bells and whistles. There's all kinds of things that we've been told aren't there, and yet they are there. And so I've started to learn how to make use of those. And one of those things initially was how to communicate with that human soul vessel's innate intelligence, what's wrong with it, and how to fix it. And that's what I started learning back about 20 odd years ago. And it's really, I don't know, what we call it. It's snowballed, and I've learned a lot of things by taking that path, and how to teach some people to do the same things that I do. We'll get into this a little bit later about quantum tasering, but it's a really unique way of fixing things or making changes in reality with the simplest of tools, this being one of them.
I like that so much about you is like you're working with this technology and then you're like, wait a second, I am the technology. I really
Yeah,
feel like, all the crystals and all these things that are coming out are amazing, but we are the technology. Technology is training wheels for what we can do on our own. The only thing is
absolutely.
we don't believe in ourselves. But so that's why like eventually these training wheels enable us, right? So
Yeah,
it pushes us to realize who we are and what we're capable of and explore that infinite potential. And another thing I really like about Taser, and why I'm so excited to interview him today with you and share him with you guys, is because I call he's like a psychic laboratory. He's always coming up with things inside his,
people are
like
always amazed. Yeah,
like a MacGyver psychic laboratory. So he's constantly like using little devices around the house for electronic or just ways to tap into people's energy, kind of a thing, or for him to tap into his own energy. It's so fascinating, and I'll tell the people a bit about your quantum tasering.
okay.
He came to me and he told me, hey, do you want to learn how to take a cheap bottle of wine and make it taste like an expensive bottle of wine? And
Really
it was
expensive.
really expensive bottle of wine. I'm like, yeah, that totally piqued my interest. Like, what the heck? Absolutely. And he's like, yeah, also bring non-organic eggs with the yellow yolk inside. I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna make it turn it organic with the orange yolk. I was like,
Who does that?
oh, who does that? So and we were able to play around with that. So I'll let him get into it, and then I'll share some of the experiences we did with it. And we came over and just kind of played around to see what you can do with it, really. And
Well, quantum tasering came up as just sort of a something that happened one day. It's actually you that helped create it. Um, um, so Jessica came over. She had a cat that looked like it was dying. She'd been told by the vet that the only thing that she could do for it was put it down. And she asked me, "Can you do anything?" And I thought, "Well, I don't know." Really, right? What do I know? So I thought, well, bring the cat over and see what I can do. So what happened was the cat came over, and I could feel into things. We can go into more of that, but and I was looking at the cat, and this idea came up of breathing the stuff out. So I'll explain to what happened is how this quantum tasering and what it is. So well, first off, I went through this process, and what happened was I got a feel in the cat, and I started to pull these things out of the cat that were I call them disturbances, and the cat came in here pretty much like a wet rag
Yeah.
and salivating, like, drooling and stuff. And then,
Poor
within,
Appalachian.
I don't know, it was 5 or 10 minutes.
You start coughing and hacking, like you're
Yeah.
coughing a lot. I'm like, what's going on?
That just happened. It wasn't like I was trying to do something. As I was breathing this stuff out, my body immediately hacked it out. And I had my hand in some salt water, and I'll tell you why and all this stuff. But the thing was, within minutes, really, the cat shifted and changed from being on death's door to, kind of like Perky.
It was really miraculous. He just blew my mind. Like he's constantly blowing my mind because I'm always figuring out like cases or situations, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what would happen if Taser looked at that, what he would do or what he would come up with.
Yeah.
And for Appalachia, I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what to do, kind of a thing. And it seemed like they're saying she might have rabies or something. I'm like, no, they would act differently, but she's foaming at the mouth. She's doing all these weird things. I don't know what happened to her. Some sort of puncture mark, something bit her, and it definitely wasn't going to go to a vet. So yeah, we had to. I'm so glad that you were able to come up with something, and she was just literally like night and day difference suddenly, from being so weak and like so like foaming to everything just suddenly stopped. It was like
magic,
amazing.
Yeah.
But again, that's our potential when we believe in ourselves, when we tap into this like possessing the heart of a child. I love this so much about you, Taser. You're so much in touch with your inner child and that ability to play and creativity and my potential.
That's where it starts. Yeah.
So
yeah, we lose that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And like we have it in different ways. Like I have it in certain things, and you have it in different things. And it's just it's so neat. It's complementary too, right? It's not like I can't do what you do, but not in the way that you do it specifically. Just like
and I always encourage people like don't try and be me.
Yeah.
I give them some base tools to use and find your way with that, because everybody has their own way of doing things. Like, and I don't want to be any guru or anything. I mean, everybody's a guru. Which would explain about quantum tasering, like why it's quite unique. Yes. Oh, and the tasering part, the name, I didn't.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, we just went right into it. Like
I didn't choose that.
I just assumed they knew. I thought they were, telepathic, and they're
oh yeah,
mind, so like we don't have to explain. They'll just figure it out.
Well, no, quantum, okay. But the tasering actually was my name, and the lady from Australia that I taught how to do it, she really loved it, and she just kind of came out of her mouth one day. Said, "Oh, this is tasering." I think quantum tasering. Like, okay, I sort of stuck, and they liked it, so you just sort of stuck with it. Anyway, the what I want to do is tell you the simplicity of it, which a lot of my friends and professional people I know, they just like, this is nuts. This is just ridiculously simple. And that's kind of what I call source, God, whatever, makes things simple. It wasn't supposed to be complicated, to do stuff. Anyway,
it's supposed to be fun too.
And it could be fun.
Not a chore.
And this tasering actually gets you into the game, and because as you'll see, you get to feel what you're doing. Anyway, it starts off as, I just go with people like what it is. Okay, we start off as a bunch of things that we can all agree to. First off, this human soul vessel is an electric vehicle. Okay, but it runs on electricity. We can all agree on that. That's sort of pretty simple. And second thing we agree upon is, I guess I don't have it here, but I'll go get it in a second, is salty water acts as a great grounding mechanism for any kind of electricity.
I have a pond. Yeah.
It's in the black jug over there.
I'll go grab it.
And okay, so you can all agree to that. Everything's been well, that's simple. And okay, third thing we can agree to is, let's see. Oh, we have a pump in our body, and you're likely going to think of the heart. Well, that's kind of a pump. It's actually more of a valve, but you hear that one? Lungs, yeah. So this is it's a simple pump. If you're not breathing though, you're dying. So it's a very important pump. But it's still a simple tool. Okay, so we got an electric body. You got this water that's with salt in it that acts as a ground. You got this pump mechanism. And then now in the body itself, when you think of it in the universe, I think anybody listening to this is probably kind of like, pretty smart. And that, and
I'm feeling like awake to like.
awake
quantum
to a
things,
lot of
but
things
more
that-
than that,
yeah, we're not-
we
yeah.
probably smart, yeah.
okay. The world, well, actually everything is frequency based. It's all frequency based. So in a sense, that's also electrical, because frequencies as they're vibrating, they actually create energy. Energy is electricity. So you can kind of convert then that to think about that's electricity. Okay, well, kind of simple. All right. And then you've seen this with people, even in kids, they can reach out to somebody's body and they can feel stuff, hot, cold, whatever, or even just like yucky or something.
Or tingling.
Tingling.
Little electric currents in my fingers.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna have something different. But now, okay, if somebody has some challenge in their body somewhere, I call it a disturbance. And as we just said, everything's electrical, right? So that disturbance is also electrical. So then what you can do is you can feel, hey, look at this. I can go over here. Oh, actually, I can do it like this. Okay.
Okay.
No, I don't have to do it. Okay, so I can like I feel something here, right? And then with the
You're gonna reach out and try to feel the audience?
yeah,
Is that where you're going with it?
I don't know what I was doing. So here's just a container of water I can stick my hand into. Pretty simple. And it's small enough I can take with me in my backpack. So I can do this anywhere. So I put my hand on, actually I'm moving around, find out where the disturbance is. Once I just sort of say I found it here, right? This is what's a really cool part. So breathing. Basically, breathe up in here, hold it, and then breathe down your arm into the water. That's it. Really simple. But what happens when
I just want to interrupt you. The reason you're touching me is if I have something that I'm wanting to deal with. Yeah, so just you need to hold on to something in particular of what you're wanting to address, and then or what you want to remove and bring it out through the.
you can do it with the
right?
person that's right beside you, or you can do it with their picture. You
That
can
too.
do both.
We'll go into that later.
But anyway, the thing is, if there was, it could be a growth, it could be whatever. There's a disturbance there. I'm feeling that. Here's what it happens to me too. As I'm feeling it, for me, I get like
That's what I was telling you guys about it. Like, I was like, oh man, if he's gonna do this, he might start hacking.
But what'll happen is I'll my body will, first off, I'll feel it here, and sometimes like, no, I'm really good at it. I can just like look at the individual and I can feel it where there's they have a challenge, but it's kind of, like it wants to like almost chuck something up, and that's like, oh, okay. And depending upon the severity of the disturbance or the challenge there will also be the severity of the coughing and hacking that will happen into the water as you breathe out. This is what's weird too. As you're breathing in, nothing's happening. But as soon as you start to breathe out, and it can be really violent.
Something you picked up from
No,
me.
no.
That was just to demonstrate what it sounds like. Okay, good. Just to make sure. I'm like,
yeah. But that's what's kind of cool. And that's kind of like immediate feedback, because as you do it, you do a few of those breaths, it dissipates to the point where it doesn't happen anymore. You just have to feel around a little bit. But that's a simplicity. I've worked with that to, okay, as you said, you can do it with wine. You can take the essence of wine. There's no hacking involved, but it's still it's a transference of its essence into the other bottle that's a lot cheaper. But suddenly it becomes, I mean, it really can change. I mean, it can change like dramatically the hue and color of the wine. If it was aged in oak, that oak suddenly comes through in the wine. It's a lot more robust, Anyway,
we witnessed this, so I can, and a few other friends witnessed it as well too, and my mom. So it definitely did change.
It's a cool trick,
and it was cool because he just went and he grabbed like, okay, what's a good expensive bottle of wine that's like
on my phone.
This wine. He just picked out one on his phone and he put his left hand on that, and then the right hand in the water, and then
on the wine.
Sorry, on the wine.
That's right.
And then transferred that taste into that taste, and even the text, everything. I remember that other wine was
kind of crappy,
sour, quite sour, and not very smooth, if I remember correctly now, because this has been a while now since we last did this. And yeah, you could totally taste the difference. It was really, I mean, I'm not surprised because I know what we're capable of, but it was absolutely incredible.
It's a great party trick.
Yeah.
But it's not an illusion.
No, it's reality.
Yeah. What I like about that is a lot of people will gravitate towards that because it's, wine. But the other thing is it's something they can do that has a practicality in their life, and nobody's life is at risk with it. It doesn't work for them. Well, okay, it didn't work. But for most people, it will.
I mean, we did do it with our other friend who had the high blood pressure, and we were able to use our friend Danny, who had average blood pressure, good blood pressure, right, and brought her high blood pressure down by just transferring. So that was really awesome too. So it can be used in that way as well, as we noticed, because we kept experimenting, like, ooh, what else can we do?
Well, just recently I helped getting the cancer of this lady's foot with that. And it was quite dramatic. Depending on the pictures here, but she had this graft on her bottom of her foot that she'd had years ago. It was all black and hard. She came here the one session, and I cleaned out some of the crap from there, and got her to use some ozonated olive oil. And she came back for a second session. But even after the first session with me, now this thing was old. It was a few years old. Nothing had really changed, just a black kind of hard surface on there. And within the second day, new skin had developed on it, and crap was coming out of the thing, right? And she came in another time and just got some more happening. But now it's really amazing. No, of course, the medical assistant says, "Oh, we have to do a second graft." I thought, are you nuts? I mean, the lady's growing new skin. Why would you want to do a second graft?
They're so
funny, right? Anyway, and also this any kind of operation is just a disturbance and a trauma.
We had some other neat experiences too with quantum tasering, didn't we? Aside from changing the wine, I couldn't get my dog one dog is just not a foodie at all. The other one's a foodie, bottomless pit, but this other one she won't eat, and she's super particular. And I'm like, well, I know she really likes Arby's. I have to spell it every time. You can't even say it around her. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this food this liver. We cooked this liver for her, and I quantum tasered it to it with a picture of Arby's on the phone to make it taste like Arby's for her to eat it, and she did. So I was like, what the heck? That's so awesome.
Another practical thing that I've used it for, which was for autism, which was totally, I mean, I hadn't worked with autism in kids before, and somebody was referenced to me to come and bring their kid and see what they could do with him. And so they bring him here, and he's typical autistic. He was 4 years old at the time. Wouldn't look you in the eye, running all around the room, just like kind of crazy energy. And wasn't sure what to do, but I thought, well, try this quantum tasering on him and see what happens. And also, I did a couple things on his brain, but the main thing with the quantum tasering was just unbelievable. Like, it was not just for what happened, but also for what happened to me. I mean, it was the first time it was so intense for me, like violently coughing. And I remember the little kid, he put his hand up and said, "No," he said, "No, I gotta do this, Noah." Anyway, but after that was amazing. And I remember this only took like 5 minutes, but took like 5 hours out of me. But it was pretty intense. And after that, he could look you in the eye. His parents were blown away, and he was calmed down. The second time he came, this is a follow-up. This is really bizarre. So we did a second thing. I pulled some more stuff out of him. Wasn't as violent, but we also helped fix his foot. He had some growth on it that the doctors didn't know what was from. Anyway, fixed that. And now I'm at the door. Him and his parents are giving me a hug, and Noah's going to stand there and look at us. This is amazing. Kid 4, okay? And his parents walk out the door, past the door jam area, and Noah walks out there. Then he turns around, he walks back. He's 4. He puts out his hand, and he telepathically tells me, "I appreciate you." 4. I mean, I was just blown away. So was his parents, because they said, "He's never done that," Anyway, this tells you that's powerful. And I did that with just some salty water and breathing, and hacking. So, but it tells you, like, the simplicity of the reality we live in can be changed with a few simple tools. You don't need huge expensive machines. That's what I found out anyway. You can still use machines, but this is the best one.
And it doesn't cost anything either, so like, don't take our word for it, try it for yourself.
All right.
So another really neat thing that Taser came up with was a few days ago or so, maybe about no, maybe a week or two actually. I got time and space to splish, yeah. So I felt very intuitively drawn to go visit Taser. I didn't know why. I'm like, I just want to go see him, pop by. We haven't talked for a while. I don't know what it was. And when I came over, he was like, "Oh, hey, wow, we're gonna celebrate." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What great timing! I just came up with something incredible, and I want to celebrate it because it's so simple, like quantum tasering." And I was like, "Oh, wow, tell me! I want to hear all about this." And I'm so glad that I picked up on your telepathic taser
Yeah.
email, telepathic mail.
Well, I wanted to celebrate that night because to me it was a big deal. Well, it started a little while ago. I knew the periodic table is kind of we've been told a lot of things about it which aren't true. And what I was able to see when it's like told people about this, they thought, "Oh my God, I never saw that before." What I'm going to tell you, okay. So the periodic table is the table of all the elements that we know is 114 or whatever it is. And but what do we start out with? Hydrogen, right? Second one, helium. Third one, no, I figured. Fourth one is beryllium.
Beryllium.
Fifth one is boron. But anyway, as you increase in the numbers, what have you actually increased? When you start with hydrogen, I just call it an apple. You add another apple, you get helium, and on and on. Right? You get 5 apples together, you get a boron. Okay, 6 apples, 7 apples, doesn't matter. Okay, what do we start with? An apple. So what does that tell you? They're all made of the same thing. Now, even though you get into the higher ones, you got a few extra neutrons inside the middle of it, supposedly, but that's for extra weight. But still, it's one extra proton and one extra electron. Those aren't any different. That's why it's so bizarre when you see carbon change suddenly into oxygen. Like, how the hell did that work? And yet it does. I mean, even in the other ones that are heavier, like if they're radioactive, they change by one hydrogen atom and suddenly they're radioactive. Anyway, but what that told me is the plasticity of that system. If they're all made of the same thing, then they can all be put together in different ways, okay, to make the elements. So what I found out that one day I was looking for this solution for this the parasite upgrade. Oh, I guess I gotta say this. What I really focused on these days is the human soul vessel upgrades, and this is I'm making solutions for that, different ways to make things turn on or give us but potential that we're supposed to have. But what I was looking on this one thing was to the heavy metals that are in our body. I was looking for a way to transform them somehow so that they become no longer toxic to us.
That's right. We were talking about the heavy metals
because we wanted to remove these heavy metals because they're what parasites some feed on, and they get deposited in different parts of your tissues and they kind of stay there for like decades. And people going through these cleanses constantly trying to get rid of the metals, trying to get rid of parasites. So I put out 2 things into one: get rid of the parasites completely on your own with your own human soul vessel. Does it on its own. This is a whole way it does that. And also the heavy metals, but this is the big difference, is you're transforming them into an adjacent element that's actually beneficial to us. Isn't that cool?
Not unlike we were trying to order a bunch of fenbizanol because it really helps with parasites.
Yep.
And we ordered a huge amount from Amazon, and of course our lovely Canadian government's like, nope, and sent it back. And so
can't have that.
These are like, I'll just make my own. I'm like, what? And he's like, and you don't have to keep taking it. It will just work right away, and that's it. I was like,
this is
why you're so awesome. I enjoy visiting you. It's never a dull moment. There's always some new discovery and realization of Taser.
It is amazing. But so think about that. Oh, this process only takes 3 weeks. So once you do go through this 3-week process, you don't have to do the parasite cleanses. You don't have to be removing the metals. Actually, anything you take in as those metals, your body's system now automatically can convert them into something useful for you.
Not just that, if you try to get rid of parasites but not get rid of the metals, then it's always going to
Yeah, they're always going to come
You
back.
have to get rid of the metals first, is what we've learned. But yeah, it's a never-ending story, never-ending battle. You have to keep taking stuff forever, zeolite and everything. Then
And
you
that
just
doesn't
gotta
make-
keep going. And
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
it's got to be something else, right?
Well, that's the whole point. This is
Got to be a better way.
our human soul vessel has a lot of potentials, and I'm learning how to turn them on, and that's why I call it upgrades. And yeah, it's not the way that the typical commercial enterprise wants us to do things. They want you to take something every month, right? So they can keep pulling money out of you. I think that's BS. I mean, we should be able to just upgrade ourselves so we don't need those things, you know? I got a lot more information on that some other time, but
He's got so many projects. I swear, every time I come to visit him, he's got something new in the works. And then it's like, all right, let's go through a list of all your latest discoveries or realizations in your psychic laboratory MacGyvering techniques.
Yeah, I mean,
We keep coming up with different words for
it. Just a sec here.
How about your hat? I'm with Ground Command.
Okay, well, that's another whole big topic, but I actually am working with CARE, which is Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. And it's huge, it's global. And we've got a lot of different projects to set up to basically transition our planet into, we call it the new Earth. And the money's not an issue. And we don't work for the government. Governments are going to be failing. You've probably seen it anyway, but and there's going to be this huge transition. And Ground Command is well, but we have a ground commander. I guess she's anyway, Kim Gogoon is the ground command, and she's in charge of the called the Global Repository, which is where the money actually comes from all over the planet. And anyway, whether I'm a ground command is I'm actually working also with a group within that called the GIA, which is the Global Intelligence Agency. And they've been around a long time. And what's kind of interesting when I first learned about who they are is, okay, a lot of people, everybody out there probably knows that a lot of the movies we see are a reflection of reality that's really out there.
Truth, yeah. Science fiction, science fact, fantasy, actually reality, yeah.
Matrix was a big one that really opened a lot of people's eyes.
A documentary.
It says that we're moving into the light age now. We're called the golden age. A lot of stories there we go into, but I just got this because I thought it was kind of cool on the ground command. It's a lot of things that I know how to do in the quantum realm, and teaching others how to do the same thing, inspiring them to come up with really cool stuff. You know what? You come up with stuff even better than I can do. Right? And that's what it's all about, is really inspiring people to reach their potential. And I mean, I got a lot of things to offer. I mean, I've already got some contracts to work in the oil and gas industry to use fungi to remediate the bioremediate the soils that are there. And here's the other thing that I've learned about, what the hell, no, 15 years ago, how to communicate with fungi. That's right, how to communicate it, and also work with their currency. And this is what their currency is. Molasses, of all things, right? You can use that as a currency with them, because that's what they want to use, not only for themselves, but they can also use it to use currency within their environment with other things. It's like it's a starch, sugar, whatever. But
they're so intelligent, and they're also ETs.
And they can follow directives. And so I give them directives to do certain things, and they go out and do it. They can do, I mean, they can create enzymes to break down granite, you know. They can live on the outsides of the space station, you know. I mean, they could, what did they do? Oh, and they were over Chernobyl, and gamma rays. They use it as energy. Thank you very much. And I'm actually going to work on a project for that too. That's we could, if we were hit with gamma rays, we could convert it also into energy that we could use.
That's just something else I really like about you guys, is whenever I come over to visit, like, it's if I'm in fear of what I've heard about the latest thing that's going on, what the evil ones are doing, and they're doing this now, they're doing that, and I'm like, oh, Taser, what do you guys think? And then you guys just laugh every time, and then you just show how ridiculous it is about kind of a thing. So they just always, like, put things in perspective, and like no matter how old, like the age isn't a like nerve-wracking for you, just getting older and feeling like, I always feel like, oh no, I'm running out of time, and you're just like,
No, you're
I'm
not.
gonna be fine. I got so many things to do. Like it just doesn't, this sort of perspective is just so refreshing and awesome, and just a constant reminder, hey, that's right, like I'm falling into these concerns of this and that of what they're doing, and trying to make them seem larger than life, when it makes us forget about our potential and what's really going on, right? I'm so glad every day for you guys to just get that boost every time, and reminder.
Let go of the fear porn.
Yeah, because they're constantly pumping us with us.
Mm.
Even in the truth movement.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, people have a lot of good intentions, but they don't know the whole story.
The
So,
new weapons and everything that is, coming to you guys talking about.
oh, and I haven't been, what do you call it? I've been affected too by things that have gone on, like last year, a little over a year ago. I almost got killed.
Oh yeah, that's right, when you were attacked.
Yeah, I was attacked by some kind of stuff digitally, I think from through my TV of all places, and oh, anyway, I won't go into the whole thing, but it was nasty. But I learned from that and how to protect myself, and so and through that I've learned how to protect others too, like making up another solution, that's an upgrade to the human's body, so that can protect itself naturally from 5G, the EMFs, and all that.
It's like each problem they throw at us, we just figure out a way to kind of
Figure out a way.
yeah,
Yeah.
upgrade on it, basically.
Yeah, the upgrades.
Everything they're doing is not working, it's failing. I think I met you guys a few years ago. I met Kurt, I met your brother at a freedom gathering, and then he just kept going on and on about you, and I'm like, I want to meet him, and lo and behold, we're neighbors. So this is great.
Yeah, not too far away.
Wake people in your area.
But anyway, got a lot of projects underway to get going, and I know we can do a few more videos here, but this is just an intro to what I do, and there's lots of things that I do, but this is kind of gives you an idea of the extent of how we can make things better here, and also how to open your mind as to what's possible for you to learn really simply, because I'll be teaching more people how to do what I do. And even the simplest thing, well, as you said, with the eggs was kind of a cool experiment. And I did that. I had the cheap eggs. Actually I did a little bit more, but I let it go for a week to see how they were changing over the course of the week. And they did, they went from like that, that pale yellow yolk and that sort of watery albumin, the white stuff, or the clear stuff. And that yolk on the cheap eggs is kind of like flattish, and on the other one it's more roundish. Then they did convert that over the course of a week. They changed. You think, well, how did that work? Well, I said, give a little bit of time and just like make it real. Also, like like
a week. Sometimes it could be pretty instantaneous.
It can be.
A couple minutes, or
it can be, but
2 hours. But for the most part, it do work quite quickly.
Well, generally with making things change with people, it's pretty simple and fast. But foodstuffs where you're going to watch a change happen, I don't know. It's kind of like, oh, this is the thing with in the quantum realm. When you observe it, it's a particle. When you're not observing it, it's a wave. Okay. So when you're not observing these things, it can change a lot more quickly. But when you're observing it, it's probably not going to be changes quickly. That's why when you work on somebody and stuff inside their body, you can't actually see it. I can see it, but they can't. So they don't. It's kind of like they can't say it didn't work, but they can feel something changed. Okay, especially if it's a new cartilage that's on your knee, and suddenly there's no pain there. You're like, oh my God, I can walk again. So anyway, all these things are people can teach. Oh, and we're going to be that's the thing I'm going to be doing is bringing up a new medical center so that you can think about it. You don't have to go get a new hip or knee or elbow or shoulder or whatever.
The future medical sense, the true one, how it was always meant to be, without this
just like a Star Trek,
quantum Star Trek,
the
medical center
tricorder,
kind of thing. Yeah, for people who are struggling with shedding from the injection.
Yeah,
Or people who have been injected that had a very bad experience with it and want to get that stuff out and correct their DNA and everything like that. You just came up with something like that, like in a spray bottle, and like, oh, spray a little bit on the back of your neck and a little bit in your mouth of this one, 2 different bottles, and it's just like.
well, it seems simple, but it took a while to come together. I mean, I had to spend time on some research and find out what actually am I getting the body to do. I still work with science. That's kind of a cool thing. Science still shows me what's they can give me as data on what the body does and how things integrate and how they how things can be absorbed or how things can be changed. Anyway, it gives me a lot of information to go with, and then I can use that as directives to get the body to do certain things. And what I did, well, there's just so much stuff in this solution though, like how to get the body to not only recognize the spike proteins, how to get rid of them, how to even use the synthetic parasite that they inject into people to use it to remove the spike proteins from inside of cells that are replicating themselves. I could go into that, but it's a little longer. But basically making use of things that are being injected into you that transform them from being something that's going to kill you to something that actually can be of benefit to be used by you. And that's all in the quantum directives. What I found was rather interesting with the spike protein. It was like a replicator of itself, and it would go into cells and start replicating itself. And what the interesting part was that it's a protein, and what the synthetic parasite eats is these types of proteins. So what I got the body to do, the immune system, was to work with this parasite, let it go into these cells, feed like crazy, take off, and let the body eject it. We're going to destroy it. Here's the thing. Rather than trying to destroy something, see if you can work with it.
Yeah.
And that's what was amazing with that small part of the solution, was that I was actually getting rid of all this stuff and eliminating the parasite at the same time.
That's how the medical industry works. Oh, you have cancer? Okay, well, it's like having a big garden and there's weeds in there and they just kill everything, the plants and the weeds.
Yeah.
And expect it all to, like, just eradicating is not the answer. It's what exactly is the problem? What exactly is the root? How did this, get messed up, and how do you correct it, basically?
And
rather than kill it and start fresh all the time. Like, this is just this mentality, this unconscious message that's being broadcasted out constantly. Yeah.
Rather than cooperate. So and that's the cool thing about working with the system, the immune system, is you can direct it to do certain things, and you can teach it to do certain things that maybe that have been shut off. Like there's one of the other projects that come up is
I knew if I started, you'd be like, oh, and this one, and this one, and this one. Like, it's like,
but this is another biggie.
Yeah.
But actually Kim's really interested in this, is upgrading the body system so we can create our own vitamin C. And that's not like completely new. The literature shows we were able to do that centuries ago. For some reason or other, it's been shut off. I can imagine why, to make us, weakened. But it's just a program that needs to be turned back on. It's just kind of cool. The vitamin C molecule is like 5 carbon atoms and hydrogens. It's not even complicated. It's really easy to make. No, it wasn't like it's not like a protein or something. It has all kinds of things all over the place. And the thing, if you're able to make your own vitamin C, you can make as much as you need. You can break down lipids or whatever else you need, or you can just combine things from the air. I mean, think about it, like trees, they take in air, water, sunlight, and they make stuff.
And they're mirroring this to us, so we can do it too.
Yeah. Well, one last thing I want to touch on. What also allows me to think along these paths is that breatharians are real. Okay, yeah. They breathe in what they need. They take in energy, what they need. And they make everything that they need without eating. So and that's a fact. I mean, that's you can meet breatharians, and so if that's true, then there's a lot of things that are possible. Okay, and then what the roads that I'm going down are actually, kind of going towards that. But the thing is that, we have this human soul vessels that's just has all these tools that we can make use of. But maybe just leave it at that for a moment. That's a good thing to chew on.
What about your mosquito stuff?
Oh, what I started with?
Yeah, that's what really started a lot of this. How did that come about, and how does that work?
Well, that was back in 2010. That's kind of story. So I was down in Hawaii trying to figure out what to do with my life, and sitting having a beer with my chiropractor friend, and we're looking through a bunch of pictures and some videos and things of me working in the past, doing things that I do. And anyway, after that, and a couple of beer, he looked over me, he says, You ever thought about making a mosquito repellent? I said, no.
Where did that come from?
But that's a good question, And so I looked on it and looked online, did some research on it, and found out that there was as everybody here probably knows, a lot of crap in the marketplace that
DEET.
well, yeah, and anything really. It's all layering stuff on your skin, and it has varying degrees of effectiveness.
Like sunblock. Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
Never really use it.
But anyway, what I found out was that Rothamsted Research Center did a study back, well, I guess quite a long time ago now, 2005, I think, and they found out that the body has a system that produces these highly volatile vapors from your skin, and depending upon the effectiveness of your own immune system, these vapors will confuse blood-seeking insects. And so they initially get drawn into your CO2 vapors, and then they're looking for specific compounds that you would normally be producing off your skin. And it's like they might even dance on you a little bit looking for those vapors, but they said, oh, there's nothing here, so there's no food, so they fly away. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So all we have to do is make sure that thing is working, that program is working. And so I figured out a way to get the body's immune system to reboot that program and start producing those volatile vapors, because it's pretty amazing. Like they're produced as three different vapors or compounds, and varying degrees of how much they're being produced, depending upon what insect is coming into your electromagnetic field. That it'll actually vary those things specific for that bug. Like, think about that. Isn't that amazing? So and it's so effective. You can be in a cloud of these things, of gnats, sandflies, horseflies. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Horseflies. Well, funny with horseflies too. They'll kind of like
your skin.
they'll be hanging around like they normally do. And suddenly they'll go like this. What the hell? And they fly away.
You saw it do that?
Yeah.
What's in that?
Minerals. Basically, what I created was a very simple solution that you basically take in your mouth about a half a teaspoon.
Yeah.
Swish it for a month or a minute.
A month.
Yeah, and then swallow it, and then within about 3 minutes, your body's activated to produce these things as you need them. But the way I initially made it was working for about 4 hours initially, to 6 hours to 12 hours, depending upon how long you've been using it. But it still was pretty cool. I mean, you could basically, and there's no side effects. Actually, people have even used it for a wide variety of things.
I thought it works fantastic for allergies. Whenever people have really bad allergies and there's like 6 cats in the house, I'm like, here, take this kind of a thing, and that's
people have used it for that.
Mm-hmm.
People used it. Women that I bought it in Alberta, I think. She just couldn't believe it, how her hot flashes went from like 20 a day down to 1 or none.
Okay, good to know.
Well, and like I thought, well, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't expected that, but it's just, I guess, once again, the immune system is working better, and I put a lot of extra little tools in there, I guess, to give the system an advantage to just like be creative. And
Like, you don't have to spray or anything. You just put it in your mouth, swish it around for a minute or two, and then it
well,
works for
it
like
doesn't taste bad.
4 to 8 hours. No, it tastes like water,
water.
or colloidal silver or something.
Yeah, the minerals in it, there's like 8 minerals, but they're really low amounts.
And the rest is charged with the quantum taser.
Well, that's why I didn't used to tell anybody what I was really doing, but I don't care anymore. But what what was the important part was the silver inside there that I found the two things. One, it was stabilizing the solutions. So this is the thing. For our first solution I made, I gave it to the guy that was next door. This is a negative for Mosquito, is always slapping himself. And
Too, they're so bad with me.
and
Don't like me.
so I said, would you like to try this out? He says, absolutely.
Mm.
So he came over the next day and he said, Taser, this is amazing. I said, I can't believe it. You know, I was outside on the evening. I finally was watching the sunset with my cup of tea. And I was just, they're buzzing around me and they're leaving me alone. It's bizarre. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. That was my first solution I made for that.
Particularly the Bill Gates mosquitoes too, because we're worried that, you know, they could have the injection with it.
Oh, is that?
We're like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it's even more nerve-wracking.
I had to find a way to stabilize it, which I did. And then the other thing, part of that stabilization was even more effective because the silver is what is imprinted with all the information. It actually holds that information and it can carry it into cells and whatever. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, I'm just giving stuff away. I'm not trying to be secret about anything. We need to get more people on board to be creative with stuff as opposed to hold it and then, oh, this is mine. I'm not going to tell anybody. That's crap. I mean, how are we supposed to move forward the new earth if we're all worried about somebody else, you know?
Hoarding or
Hoarding.
scarcity or
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, there is no scarcity. It shouldn't be anyway.
Something interesting I also learned about with, or was told by someone who used your stuff for shedding. They were very, very sensitive to the fresh, being around people. They would have nosebleeds all the time.
Yeah.
They used your stuff and to prevent like that stopped right away.
Yeah.
And then people who had like, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well,
And for the results you've seen or stories you've seen of people who are had bad side effects from side effects. It is the effect.
the effects. Basically, people's lives getting back to normal or whatever normal is at the moment. I don't know what else I can say is that there's a host of problems that are associated with the jab and with shedding from people who have had the jab. And then, you know, it's in some of our food now too. So it affects people differently. Some, I mean, you've probably seen the blood clots, you know, well, that can disappear when they get on this solution, which is pretty amazing because I don't think anybody's been able to do anything else with that.
How long do they need to be on the solution before they notice the difference?
It's a 3-month process. If they've been jabbed, it can be up to 6 months. But that's it. Like I said, like you don't have to be cleansing yourself every month, you know, for the rest of your life. Like some people want to do with buy the solution, you know, every year, like every month, you know, and
yeah, because the spray is like only a few times.
once in the morning, once at night.
And then for how many days? And then is it a couple days on, a couple days off, if I remember correctly? I haven't used it for a while now.
5 days on, 2 days off. 5 days on, 2 days off.
Not that I got it. I'm not about the shedding.
Really, and that's important too.
Get it.
Well, no,
Just gotta watch what we say here because the censoring taser, just a reminder. It's probably better.
Oh well. Anyway, once again, it's set up so that you don't need it after a time frame.
Yeah.
It's just an upgrade to your system.
So it's not like a lifetime subscription to something. Yeah.
No,
Mhm.
I don't work that way. At least no, I don't.
Could we quantum taser the product? If a person saw a picture of it, would they also be able to
It might.
do it, have the same sort of results?
You could try.
Yeah.
You know, why not? You know, like what do you got to lose?
Yeah, just try it. See, he's not worried about, oh no, profit or anything. That's great.
No, I want everybody.
If it works, great.
Everybody empower themselves
Yeah.
so that they can.
We're not trying to sell you guys anything.
No.
Just sharing.
If you want, I mean, you can always get a hold of me, but
yeah, so you guys do have questions for either of us, feel free to message us and we can do a follow-up and answer your questions.
Anyway, this has been a
Thank
good day.
you so much, everyone.
Anyway, we'll do this again soon in the quantum realm.
Next time on Subsoul Archaeology
Subs,
podcast.
okay.